Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Now in today's video, I'm going to be keeping up with that holiday season and I'm going to be sharing a classic with you all. In today's video, I'm sharing an updated black cake recipe. Now we all know that any Guyanese, any Trini, any Jamaican, or any other Caribbean household, it is not complete without a nice slice of black cake or fruit cake. Now in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my recipe and I made it so much easier for all of you at home and all of you new bakers to make this recipe. Now, traditionally in Guyanese households, there's not a lot of measurement, there's not a lot of direction when it comes to traditional recipes like this. So I went ahead and I made it even easier as far as the measurements go. Usually if I were to ask my grandmother how she makes her black cake or her fruit cake, she will tell me all of the measurements in pounds and ounces. Well, for all of us at home that do not have scales or weights to go ahead and put our ingredients on and measure it that way, I went ahead and I made the recipe into cup measurements or regular measurements that we would use in our kitchen nowadays. So go ahead and get yourself a set of measuring cups. Go ahead and keep watching the video and I'm going to show you all how I put together my quick and easy black cake. And a lot of you always ask me where you can find the ingredients and the measurements for all of the ingredients that I'm using in my recipes. Now, I didn't leave you hanging. Just because I don't put it in the video doesn't mean it's not there. If you look right below the video, there's a drop-down menu. Once you click on that drop-down menu, all you need to do is click see more sometimes, or just keep scrolling and you will see all of the ingredients and the measurements. Now, if you all want to see how to make a delicious black cake, you got to keep on watching. So let's get into it. So the first thing that we need to do in making our black cake is to soak all of our fruits. So here are all of the dried fruits that I'm going to use. I just want to let you know you can mix and match them as you want, and all of the ingredients and measurements will be in the description box below the video. I have some currants, I have some regular dark raisins, I also have some golden raisins just because I have them on hand. You can use all regular raisins if you want. And I also have some maraschino cherries or candied cherries. And I have my dried prunes here. And the last thing that I have is some candied mixed peel. So into a bowl, all we're going to do is start to mix all of our dried fruits and then we're going to pour the alcohol on top. So into the bowl, we're going in with all of the raisins. We're going to be going in with all of the currants. I'm also adding in those dried prunes, my golden raisins, and the cherries, as well as the candied mixed peel. And once you mix all of those fruits together, all you're going to do is add on your red wine. You can use any type of red wine you want. I'm using the Manischewitz sweet red wine, and I'm also going to be going in with some dark rum. If you wanted to add in more dark rum and replace some of the wine with it, feel free to do that as well. We're just going to give this a final mix and I'm going to cover it either with some plastic wrap, or if your bowl has a cover, cover it that way. Or you can also put this in a jar and you can let it sit for weeks, months, or even years. But I'm just going to be letting this sit for about 2 days and then I will make my black cake. So my fruits have been soaking for exactly 2 days on my countertop. Once they are all soaked, I'm going to start to blend them. So I have my Vitamix or whatever food processor or blender that you have, and you're going to pour all of the contents into it and you're going to grind it to your liking. I like more of a smoother paste. If you want it more chunky, you can leave it chunky. And once you get the consistency of fruits that you like, you can go ahead and just set this mixture aside and we'll finish mixing the rest of the cake so it can go into the oven. And once my fruits are ground up, I'm going to prep something else, which is the browning to put in the black cake. Now, usually when you're making black cake, you'll put browning, or some people even put molasses, just to give it a very dark colored flavor. Now, of course, you can purchase these at your local West Indian store. However, I always like to make my own because I really like the flavor that it adds and I know exactly what is going inside of it. So in a little pan here, I'm going in with some brown sugar. I recommend using brown sugar for this just so this way you get a nice dark color. And all I'm going to do is leave it on the medium heat that it's on, and I'm going to wait for all of those sugar crystals to melt and bubble up. And while I'm waiting for my sugar crystals to melt, I'm going to show you what I'm going to use to put into the liquid for the browning. If you wanted to use a red wine, you can feel free to do that as well. And some people even add water. But trust me, give the Guinness a try because it's going to add a very nice flavor to the cake. And just make sure that while that sugar is melting, every once in a while you go in with a wooden spoon and you mix it up so this way all of the sugar crystals melt well. And after about 5 to 6 minutes on a medium heat, this is what you should see. Once you see that it's bubbling up like this and it's gotten slightly darker, it is time to add in all of our Guinness. And when you're adding in the Guinness or your wine or your water, whatever you decided on adding in, be very careful because it's going to pitch, it's going to bubble. And once you add in all of your Guinness, the mixture might start to solidify or crystallize a little bit. That is totally fine. All you want to do is keep on boiling it on that medium heat and allow it to boil down. It might be thin at this point, but keep on boiling it down for about 5 to 6 minutes. And then you will see that it starts to get nice and thick. And while I finish mixing my batter and preparing everything for this black cake, I'm going to set my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit so this way it has a chance to heat up. And at this point, I'm just going to start measuring out some of the ingredients that I'm going to be using in the dry ingredients for my black cake. The first thing I'm going to put in here is my baking powder, as well as some salt to bring out the sweetness, and a little bit of black pepper. I know it sounds weird, but that little addition of black pepper in the black cake really adds a nice flavor. I'm also going in with some ground cloves. I'm going in with some cinnamon, as well as some finely grated nutmeg. So at this point, all of the dried ingredients that we finished measuring out, it is time to mix them all together. By measuring all of the dried ingredients before you put the cake together, it makes the mixing process so much easier and you do not get confused. So in a big bowl, I'm going in with my all-purpose flour that I measured. I'm going in with some baking powder. I'm also going to be adding in that salt. And now I'm going to be adding in the spices. So I'm going in with my ground cloves. I'm going to be adding in all of my ground cinnamon, as well as that finely grated nutmeg. And the last addition to the dried ingredients is the black pepper. Once you add the dried ingredients into the bowl, you're going to mix everything well, and you're going to set this aside so we can start working on the wet ingredients. Now for all the wet ingredients, we're going to start off by creaming some butter and sugar. So in my stand mixer here, I'm going in with some softened room temperature unsalted butter. I'm also going to be going in with my brown Demerara sugar. If you wanted to use regular brown sugar for this, feel free to do so as well. All we're going to do is leave it on a medium to low speed on my mixer, and we're going to beat this and allow it to mix until it is nice and creamy and fluffy. And after about 5 to 6 minutes of beating that butter and sugar, you're going to be left with a very pale looking mixture. It's going to be fluffy, it's going to be light. So at this point, I have all of my eggs that I'm using in the recipe. I've beaten them up in a bowl, or you can use a measuring cup, and I'm going to be streaming them in just a little bit at a time so this way they can mix well with that butter and the sugar. Again, if you want the full list of ingredients and measurements, it will be left in the description box below this video. Everything will be there for your easy access to put this cake together. At this point, I'm going to be adding in some vanilla extract as well as some almond extract. If there's any other flavoring agents you want to add in at this time, you can add them in and mix them in. And once you get this mixture all nice and creamy, it is time to go in with your soaked and ground fruits. And once you add those in, you're just going to mix it up very well until the fruits are mixed in. And once you mix in all of those fruits, it is time to go in with the dried ingredients. I like to go in with my dried ingredients in 2 different batches, just so this way everything mixes much more evenly. And once you go in with the dried ingredients, you're just going to mix it very slowly on a low speed, so this way they can mix in well. Don't overmix the batter, or else you'll be left with a very tough and a dry black cake. And while you're mixing, the last thing to do is go in with that homemade browning that we just made. And again, if you don't want to use homemade browning, you can also go ahead and use the store-bought stuff, or even add in some molasses. But I'm just going to keep on adding in the browning until I get my desired color, which is almost like a chocolate cake batter. If you want it darker, you'll have to add more browning, and if you want it lighter, you add less browning. And once you get the batter mixed, it is time to put it into the oven. So I have 2 pans here. They are 9-inch circular cake pans. I've spread them with some butter, and I put some flour so this way nothing sticks. If you want to use parchment paper, feel free to do so. And into my oven at the bottom, I always like to put a pan of water, so this way it keeps the oven nice and moist and creates some steam, and that's going to keep your black cake moist and it's not going to dry out at all. But we're just going to pop this into our oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to let these cakes bake for about an hour. After the hour, you can test it with a toothpick, and if you feel like it needs more time because the toothpick didn't come out clean, you could leave it in for longer. But make sure you keep on checking the cake so this way it doesn't overcook. So while my cakes finish up baking, I just wanted to show you the alcohol that I'm going to be soaking the top of the cakes with when they come out of the oven. So what I'm going to be using is some E&J brandy, as well as some sherry. You can use whatever brands you want. You can also use more red wine. You can use whatever type of alcohol that you prefer. So here are my beautiful black cakes fresh out of the oven. They baked for exactly an hour and 10 minutes. Again, they might take a little longer time or a little less time, just depending on your oven and how thick you made them. What I want to do before soaking them in the alcohol is to poke the tops with a toothpick, or you can also use a skewer, so this way the alcohol soaks into the cake. And at this point, I'm going to start to brush over the alcohol over the top. Again, you can use whatever type of alcohol you want. You can even not put any alcohol on top, just depending on your preferences. And here it is, everyone, the finished black cake. I unmolded it from the pan and I put it down on my cake pedestal, and I'm just cutting into a nice slice of it. As you guys can see, this cake is super dense on the inside. It's almost like a pudding. This is exactly what you want with your black cake. And that's how I do it, everyone. Very quick, very easy black cake. The hardest part is waiting for it to bake in that oven, but other than that, it is smooth sailing from there. If you all enjoyed this recipe today, please don't forget to give it a nice big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed yet. Make sure you come on over and join the Matthew's Guyanese cooking family. Give me that little Christmas gift and subscribe to my channel. And of course, drop those comments down below, and I'll see you all again very soon in one of my next videos. Bye, everyone.